Hi everyone, I'm Krista Harmon. I'm from the Kent Intermediate School District and I am one of the career readiness consultants, and I'm really thrilled to have you today at today's career chat. And we welcome Alyssa Reynolds. She is a nurse technician and a physical therapy technician here in Grand Rapids, and we're so glad to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So as we get started, Alyssa, I know, how old are you, Alyssa, just to start?
I kind of just turned 20.
You're 20, that's awesome. I know the young people are really excited to have a young professional talking with them today. So take us back to when you were in high school, maybe a sophomore, a junior, and what were you thinking about doing as a career? And I'd love to hear some of the steps to where you got here today.
Okay, yeah. So I knew I wanted to be a therapist, a physical therapist at a young age, kind of. I used to play basketball. I played a lot of sports. I played volleyball in middle school, and then I played basketball all the way until I graduated from high school. And I would get injured sometimes, and I would always go to physical therapy. And from there, I kind of saw what they did as therapists, and I was like, I like that. I like that a lot. And so that carried what I wanted to do all the way in through high school. And I ended up actually at KCTC. And I did take the CNA program, which is a certified nursing assistant. I took that program through KCTC. And my senior year, I ended up getting my CNA. And from there, I went into the job that I am at right now. At Helen Children's Hospital, I became a nurse tech. And I think my CNA definitely helped me get that job and from the jump. And because I know like, it could have been more difficult for me to get that, but because I had my CNA and got it in high school, I got that job fresh out of high school. I accepted the position when I was 17, and so they told me I had to wait until I became 18 to actually start training and then start working the job. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great just kind of inside tip that you don't have to wait till you turn 18 to even apply for the job, because sometimes that process takes a little bit. And so to get yourself in, and then you just had to wait for your birthday. So that's a great inside tip. Also for students that might be younger in high school, may not be familiar with what KCTC is, the Kent Career Technical Center. Can you kind of give them an idea what that's about and why they should consider it as part of their high school career?
I definitely recommend KCTC. So the way it kind of works is it's another school. I think that's kind of how you guys call it. It's just another school. And so I really went to Byron Center, but for my first 3 hours, I went to Byron Center, and then I took a bus and went over to the KCTC building in that Grand Rapids area. And what basically they do is they have all these different classes and sessions laid out for students that can go into a program that deals with what they want to do in their career. And I knew that I wanted to work in the healthcare system. I knew that physical therapy was what I wanted to do, but I also knew that to build my resume, I needed to do something that would kind of stand out to employers and be like, oh, okay. So I went into the CNA program to achieve my CNA and to stand out. I mean, I knew I didn't want to be a nurse, but because a lot of people that have certified nursing assistants and CNAs, they technically kind of do a nurse tech position somewhere, whether it's in a another hospital, or sometimes they go to nursing homes and do that too. That helps them get to, then they go to nursing school, and then it's easier for them to get an actual nursing job. Well, I said, well, they don't really have a PT program necessarily at KCTC, but I wanted something that could get my foot in the door and kind of build that resume, like I said. So I did that, and I got that job at the Children's Hospital. And then from there, about a year later in 2019, I got hired at this physical therapy clinic. It's called Hope Steps in Physical Therapy. And I work as a physical therapy tech. And so now I work here too. And I get a lot of PT experience. I work with patients one-on-one and kind of help them through their exercises. I learn every day at both my jobs. I learn every single day. There's always something new to learn in healthcare. And that's also something that I love. It's just, you're always learning, you're always improving on your knowledge. And there's people around you with great wisdom that can help you with that. So yeah.
Good for you. Sounds like you've made some really intentional looking ahead and what steps would help you get there. So I think that's so fantastic. So I know the students are very interested in both jobs, and we're going to dig into that for a minute. So help them understand, you got the job as a nurse tech, you had already graduated from high school. So did you start college right away? Did you just start working? Did you do two at the same time? Tell us about that.
Yes, so I graduated in May. I got the job around July, and then I started right away. So college started in August, and I also started my other job at the Children's Hospital. And actually, I go to Grand Rapids Community College. I still go there. This is my third year, but I just got my first associates this past fall. So that was exciting, and then I'm gonna get my second associates. But all through that, I was actually I was working at the Children's Hospital, and then once I had my second year in college, I started working at the physical therapy place too. So I was working both jobs. They were both part-time, but I was also going full-time to school. So it is possible, but you have to stay focused. It's possible.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear some of your strategies of that in a minute. So GRCC, I think it's really, we've talked about this a little bit in some other career chats, how important it is to make good choices financially and not to get yourself buried in student debt. So tell us what your thought process, why did you choose GRCC?
It was basically a lot, debt had a lot to do with it. I knew that going to PT school, that's extra 3 years after my bachelor's. So it'd take 4 years, and then 3 years is a total of about 7 to get my doctorate in physical therapy. And so I said, I want to take as many gen eds as I can at GRCC because the classes are cheaper, tuition is cheaper. I live fairly close to it. I live about 20 minutes away. So that was very helpful. And so I just commuted back and forth. But it was hard. It was a hard decision to make at first because sometimes, I had friends that were going off to Grand Valley and going to CMU. And I was like, man, I want to go with them, like I want to go to a 4-year, but also at the same time, I had to look financially. Does that make sense, Alyssa? So I sat down, I had to talk with my parents. My brother, he's older than me. He went to CC too, and he did that same type of thing. And it's working. It's working. And I love CC. It's a great school. It's an amazing school. And it's honestly, it's the same classes that you can take at a 4-year, just at a cheaper price. It really is. Like some people don't like to look at it like that, but it's very helpful. But key thing is just to make sure that those classes transfer. Don't just assume. That's why they have counselors and stuff. So talk to your counselor at GRCC. They have great counselors. Talk to them, say, hey, I'm looking to transfer to this school. Will these classes transfer to that school? So it's definitely a process, but CC, that was the main decision that I wanted to make based off of money and debt and how it would be when I got my doctorate and got out of PT school.
So at this point, you've been able to pay cash, is what we're saying right now. As up to this point, you've been able. So you have no student loans at this point. That's a beautiful thing.
I do not. Yeah.
So you mentioned 2 associates. You have one you've already accomplished, and you're working on your second. What are those?
I just got my associates in general studies, and then actually for PT school, you actually have to get an associates in arts, which is a little different. Most people would think, oh, you have to get associates in science. But no, it's actually arts. And then for my bachelor's, I'll get a bachelor's of exercise science. So that's what I'll get. And then I will apply to PT school, go to PT school.
That's great. And do you have a hard time figuring out what bachelor's you were going to decide? Because I know for young people, they're afraid they might mess that up if they don't get just the right one. But it's my understanding there's some flexibility in that.
Oh, absolutely. There is complete flexibility. Sometimes people have 2 different they have like a general bachelor's, but it's a specific study, like a specific focus on this. But based off of, I wanted to really just follow the track for PT school. So they kind of pretty much had it laid out for me. They said you can either go clinical or you could go, I chose the clinical one. I can't remember off the top of my head the other one, but the clinical one was for PT school. But there's another one, if you want to go into OT, it's different. It's not clinical, but it's all in the range of exercise science, if that makes sense. It's kind of confusing, but that's kind of how they do it. Yeah.
Is that Grand Valley? Is that who you're looking to go at the next level, or what school are you using to help you guide you through that?
Grand Valley.
Grand Valley. Yeah, we have a great program right here in Grand Valley. Good for you. So it sounds like you understand the steps that you have to achieve to get there, and you're just kind of starting to plug away at them. And again, zero debt. Now, Spectrum also has tuition reimbursement. Is that something you're hoping to tap into eventually, as to be able to help pay for this next level?
Yes. It also, my position at Spectrum, I actually work in resource. And because of that, I can dig deeper into that. But because I work at resource, there's different, things and stuff that they give to you. So because I'm part-time, it's a little bit different. But full-time people is people that work specific floors, they can definitely get tuition reimbursement. But for me, I would have to work full-time, which I don't work right now because of schooling and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah.
And you're doing 2 part-time. So just for the young people to know, resource means, she's like, you know how you have a substitute teacher? Is somebody who gets called in when they need it. That's what resource is. So tell us a little more. You kind of float around to different departments, Alyssa?
Absolutely. So one day is different from the next, especially since it's at a children's hospital. One day I could be on the premature babies floor, they call it the NICU floor. That day can range from anywhere to helping with circumcisions to just holding babies, feeding them, changing their diaper. Sometimes we're only trained in certain things because we can work on all different floors. They can only train us so much just because there's so much to learn in the hospital, and especially nurse techs that are assigned to specific floor, they know exactly what they need to do for that specific floor. But because on resource, we can go from anywhere, so we have to know a lot of knowledge, but it's also not as extensive. But yes.
Yeah, not specifically trained, more generalist kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple questions came in. One would like to know if you felt KCTC kind of helped prepare you mentally for your jobs. Was that a good hands-on experience?
Absolutely. It was actually, my CNA program was all hands-on mostly. It was learning how to do rib hands. It was learning how to make beds with patients in them. It's stuff that I learned daily, like stuff that I do daily at the hospital that I learned in high school. And that's why I think it was easier for them at the children's hospital to hire me, because I had that, and I had that experience. And I went into the nursing home because we have to do clinicals in the nursing home to receive our full CNA before we take our test. And so I had to do that hands-on, and we came in, I think it was a 2-day clinical, and we did that at a nursing home with all their patients. And it is so many things that I learned that I use every day at the hospital. So yeah.
I know KCTC would be thrilled to hear that. And for those of you on the Zoom call that aren't familiar with the Kent Career Technical Center, the website is thetechcenter.org. And I encourage you to get on there. But your counselor really is, your school counselor is your connection to KCTC. So if you're young, talk to them about it. Start to lay out what that would look like for your school schedule now, so that by the time you're a junior or senior, because that's how old you have to be to go, junior or senior, that you have that planned into your school schedule. So that's just a little hint on that. And thank you, Jerry, for putting that web address right in our chat. One of the students wants to know also, what maybe is your least favorite part of your college experience right now?
Right now, currently, is probably all virtual. Everything is online. The thing about college that's a little bit different from high school is the connections with the students in the classroom. It's a little bit different. It's more freedom, and I think that's the big takeaway that I'm getting from college, as far as learning wise, not necessarily socially, just friends wise, but as far as people that are in my class that have the same goals as me, that want to succeed just like me, and they want to do good in their classes. It's easy when you have people next to you that are like, hey, are you confused too? Like, let's work through it together. And then you get done with class and you go out of the classroom. It's like, hey, let's go study in the lab together. Like, it's things that we're missing because we're virtual, that I can't do now. Everything is online, and a lot of the professors, they just pre-record videos and they put them out on the website, and you can watch them whenever. And some of them don't even do Zoom calls like this, so you never see your classmates. You never know who they are. You never have that time to connect with them. So I think that's the main thing that I'm missing right now, just that connection, because you learn so much with other people, and sometimes you even learn better when you're helping other people and you're teaching them. You're learning more yourself. So I definitely miss that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that's the reality for you right now and so many other college students. So hopefully things will get back to some normalcy soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I know some of the young people they can read about exactly what a nurse tech does on the internet and some of the career sites. But tell us what some of your favorite parts of your job are, specifically with nurse tech, and then we can have you also talk about the PT tech. What are some of your favorite things? And then eventually we'll get to some of the things you don't like.
Okay, one of my favorite things is definitely patient connection. Just being able to, sometimes at the hospital, you work 2-3 days in a row, and sometimes you work on the same floor and you see the same patients. You go in, you talk to the family, you talk to the patients. You really build a relationship with the patients. And so sometimes, when they leave the hospital and they get discharged, it's bittersweet. It's like, I'm happy you're out of the hospital, but I'm gonna miss you. And so it's definitely that relationship that you build with patients that you miss the most. And that's what you get out of the most. It's the feeling of just feeling like you did your job, just feeling like, okay, like I'm doing my job. They're having as much fun as they can. I mean, at the same time, it's a kids hospital, and so a lot of people don't think about it, but these kids, they're sick. They're sick and they're in pain, and so it's our job as nurse techs, as nurses, physical therapy, anybody that works in the hospital, to make it as best of an experience as they can for the kids that are there, because sometimes unfortunately, it can be traumatizing. There's things that those kids go through that they should never have to go through, but just because of life situations, they have to. So it's our job to build that connection, to make them have as much fun, to when we walk in the room, see their face light up, to see the smile on their face. You love that, and that's what I love about my job.
That's wonderful. And it's great to have caring people like you there. I'm sure their families appreciate that beautiful smile that you have. So what about physical therapy tech? How's that been? You mentioned that you're really getting some really good experience. You get to obviously interact with the patients there. Tell us what else you like about it.
It's kind of the same thing, building relationships. Some people with physical therapy, they come in and out as outpatient. So you may see them one day, but not see them the next day you work. So the connection is a little bit harder with PT techs because obviously we have different schedules than the physical therapists. But it's definitely, for me right now, my favorite thing about the job is just learning. I love this job. I love it. And just learning technique, learning form, learning exercises. I mean, I work with great physical therapists. They teach me new things. They ask me questions. Sometimes they quiz me on stuff. And sometimes, it's like, I don't know that answer because I don't know everything quite yet. But it's just, as you learn every day. You learn every day. You have to embrace that, because sometimes who knows if you'll get that again. So it's amazing.
Well, what an encouragement to young people on the call to hear you talk like that, Alyssa, why those part-time jobs are so important, because you are going to have such a leg up to your PT classmates someday because you've seen it in action for all this time. So yeah, I assume you want to encourage young people on that way as well.
Absolutely. Physical therapy is hard to get into. It's very competitive. Hard to get into PT school. And so I knew I needed to do everything that I could. And so when that opportunity came, my mom talked to me about it, and I said, I need it. I have to do it. Like it's gonna help me, and it goes towards my hours on my application to PT. I'm getting all of these hours. I can count all of them. It's a job, and I get paid. Sometimes people, when they need hours, they just do internships, so they don't get paid. Sometimes they don't get paid, but thankfully I'm blessed enough to have this and get paid. So get my hours, my experience, and then also
so help young people understand what that getting hours means. What does that mean?
To apply to PT school, it's a lot of different things that you have to meet, and hours is definitely one of them. So kind of like when you're getting your permit or when you're getting your license, you have your permit, you have to drive, I think it's like 150 hours or something, certain amount of hours on the road to kind of get that experience, to kind of get that practice. It's the same thing here with applying to PT school. They want that hands-on experience. They want you to see what's going on. So they want those hours, and it's actually a lot more hours than like the 150. I think it's in like the 500 range. So, and that's before you apply. So before you apply, they want those hours. And so thankfully, I'm blessed to be getting those hours right now, and I'm keeping track of them. I have to. And so, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's again, fantastic. So young people be thinking about how you might be able to work in, like she said, she did nurse tech. It wasn't what she wanted to do at the time, but it was a way in the healthcare door, getting experience, learning how patient interactions happen, what the general structure is, and then that helped her get to the next level, which is the PT tech. Someone asked in the chat exactly what you do as a PT. You just gave us a good that. We're going to have a PT guest coming up. So I'm not going to have you focus too much on what a physical therapist does, because we're going to have a guest next week that's a full physical therapist, and we had one last week too. And even the nurse tech, some of those duties, I'm going to share a screen a little later of where they can get a little more information about the actual tasks. But I'd like to know maybe some of the things that you don't like about your job as well.
The thing that I don't like about my job is kind of the emotional aspect of it. Not only am I working in a hospital, but I'm working in a children's hospital. And as fun as that sounds, sometimes it can be emotionally draining. I'm just gonna be kind of blunt with it. You see things that you don't want to. You experience things that aren't the best to experience, just because it is a hospital, and people and kids, they come, they're sick, they're in pain, they're crying. It's all of it. And I tell a lot of people, they're like, oh, you work at a children's hospital, it's so fun. It is, and I love my job, and I'm blessed to have my job. But what people forget is they forget the emotional part of it. They forget the fact that sometimes patients don't make it. Sometimes kids don't make it. And that's, you go into an adult hospital and you think about that, and that hurts. But then you go into a children's hospital and it's like, how do you go home? I'm not gonna lie, there are days where I've went to the bathroom and cried. I've just, it comes with the job. It comes with the job. And that, I would say, that's probably the hardest part about it, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's hard, but it's important for young people to understand, because sometimes when people think about pediatrics, we think it's all happy with kids, right? So to hear that reality check is really important for young people, that you have the very emotional, challenging side too. What do you think, if you were to, we have about 5 minutes left. The students have asked a few questions that, again, I want to encourage them to go to the techcenter.org website or ONET, which I'm going to share in a minute to get some more details. But when you think about qualities of healthcare, what makes a good healthcare person, obviously relationship building is something. What else do you think young people should have as far as a quality to even persevere through some of these classes that you have?
I think going into the job and experiencing some of the things you've experienced, you have to have empathy. That's a quality that sometimes it just doesn't come natural to people. And I've had to learn that too. I've had my own ankle surgery, so now I've experienced pain, I've experienced surgery. So coming and working PT, going into the hospital, I'm like, I see the pain. I can have empathy more. I think all of that stuff, leadership, it's being a leader, throwing yourself in situations where you want to say, oh, a patient codes or is not doing well, and you're kind of freaking out. It's a freak out moment, but that's what we're here to do. That's where you gotta step up and be a leader and do what needs to be done. So all those qualities that come with the job, I think, are very important to have. Just leadership, empathy, understanding, open-mindedness as far as where people are. Sometimes I walk into a patient's room, and you see parents, because it's kids, you see parents, and the parents are under stress. The parents are freaking out. And so they may be angry, they may be mad at you, but you have to realize they are going through a lot right now. And so if you sit there and they attack you, you attack them back. It's just, you have to have the right quality, you have to have the right mindset through every job that you go through. And you have to keep in mind, some people are in pain, and it's okay. They're mad, they're upset, they're in pain. So you have to think about everything that's happening as you go into a situation like that.
Again, that's beautiful to hear that you have that maturity at just 20, that you can step back from their anger, their pain, their frustration, and know that it's not, you just need to be empathetic and supportive. Good for you. I'm going to give you a chance to do kind of your last words of wisdom before we hang up this call, but I wanted to share a couple things with the young people, and so they can take this exploration to the next level. If you're new to Career Chats, again, I just wanted to share a really great resource called roadtripnation.com. If you hover over career exploration and then click on interest, there's more of these little videos like we've been doing with Alyssa. So you can just learn about people's career path and what their job is like. So I love that. I mentioned ONET Online, which is a great career site to do some of that research. So it's onetonline.org. I wanted to show you something though, why this is why I don't want to spend a lot of time during some of these career chats with it, because ONET is so fantastic. This is just a page from nursing assistants. They don't have nurse tech specifically, but I wanted to show you, that's why in each of these summary reports for each career, they actually say sample of reported job titles. So they give examples of other names that these are called. So Alyssa mentioned the certified nurse's assistant. Spectrum Health happens to call it a nurse tech, but it's the same thing. It's the same job. And this is just a screenshot to help you understand that this ONET will give you ideas of what the skills are needed, what the abilities are needed, what sample work activities, going all the way to the type of education, credentials, the interests. This is just a sample of the tasks. I'm sure, Alyssa, that when you look at that, you're like, yep, spot on. That's what I'm doing every day. So it's very accurate information, you guys. So again, go to onetonline.com and really take the time to look at some of this stuff. It'll really help educate you so you can make those educated decisions. I do want to let them know too. Let me give one more piece of advice. Sometimes because it was your personal email, Alyssa, I'm gonna just have them, if they have any questions specifically for you, to send those to me, and then I'll forward those on to you, because I didn't want to give out your personal email, because this will go on YouTube, so we don't know who's gonna be reading it. Not that some crazy is gonna get into a career chat. I'm not too worried about that, but so Krista Harmon at kentisd.org, you guys, if you do want to ask Alyssa a specific question. And that's just again. All right, time's up, but this is your chance to give some, you're just a step ahead of them, Alyssa. What would you like them to know?
Key thing, guys, just stay motivated. Stay motivated and do things that will help you progress. I will say I would be lying to you if I told you that college was hard. I mean, college was easy, excuse me. College was easy. I take classes, I take organic chemistry. I've sat at my book and just cried. I've had breakdowns. Like, this is real life, guys. So it's okay. It's okay to have those breakdowns, but in the end, you have to realize the goal and the accomplishment, and it'll all be worth it. It'll all pay off. Hopefully you'll have a job that you love and that you never want to quit, and you'll just retire from it, and all that schooling and all that, the tears and the hard work will be worth it. And so stay focused, stay motivated, surround yourself with people that have the same mindset, and they will keep you focused. And that's what I got for you.
It's good stuff, Alyssa. It's good stuff. Thank you so much for being here today. We really, really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.